I see Billy.
Leave Billy alone.
Oh, beautiful. You know what he says that I have you ever seen that YouTube video? Leave Brittany alone.
Leave Brittany alone.
That's what I imagine right now. Of him saying, "Leave Billy alone." We just need him in some crying and in some mascara.
Oh my gosh. The mascara part won't happen
Again.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a few times we've used it, isn't there?
Okay.
Anyways, welcome to another episode of User Words Podcast. I'm joined by Mascara Mr. Johnson.
Mascara
Johnson.
Mascara Johnson.
Yes, remember, leave Billy alone, mascara. He was wearing mascara. I'm joined by Mr. Josh Brewer as well, who's looking over at his clock and going, why is it so late today? Why is it so late? Why?
are we
I
still
want to
doing
go
this?
home.
Yep.
Even though he just came from home.
Well, that's neither here nor there in the context of this recording, but yes.
Could
So-
be.
So, really, Johnson?
Oh. Hey. It's so far away. But it's still picked up.
Yes. Anyways, so welcome to another episode. Today, again, you're noticing some trends here, some things that I'm trying to, I guess you can say, instill in the guys and getting them to think about things outside of themselves a little bit more and think about topics.
What
And
are topics?
and this isn't our Johnson topic.
Oh no, this is terrible.
Now, that being said, the fourth topic of the month is not a Johnson topic. So
Thankfully.
Johnson doesn't have to worry about me going, Johnson, explain, or anything like that.
But I do it for this one?
No.
Just kidding. Okay.
At least not yet.
Right.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know. So Johnson presented this one, and this one's a little bit more clear cut than
My other ones.
the other one were just division.
Division. Let's talk about it.
Okay, you want to talk about 2 over 2. Okay, that equals 1. Division, we're talking about math.
I don't like math class. I'm kidding. I do like math class.
Neither do I. I failed calculus 4 times, so that's okay. Uh-oh.
My hip.
Mm-hmm.
It popped.
Who's the old man now?
Me.
Josh, you are becoming less and less the old man, except for the sleeping part. Congratulations.
You know, I was a kid.
Yep.
I don't
Okay,
know.
we're going on. Elmo.
Elmo.
No, so at my work, we have this thing. In any meeting, if things start going off topic, someone just says Elmo.
Oh, really?
And as soon as Elmo is said, we stop and move on. And Elmo means enough. Let's move on.
Hang on.
Elmo.
Paul's always the guy who says
Enough,
Elmo.
let's move on.
Nope, I'm actually not.
No?
Nope, I'm not.
Interesting.
I'm not surprised.
So, anyways, the conversation that Aaron wanted to bring up and have, and correct me if I'm mispronouncing any of this, Johnson.
Oh,
It's because I want to make sure I have it correct. I have here change in culture and what do we do more from a Christian perspective. As culture's changing, what do we do? Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there anything else you want? I'm not going to ask you to explain it, but was there anything else you want to add to that
I guess
concept?
it was just both Christian and non-Christian. Because
Okay.
I mean, at work, sorry, excuse me. Gosh, I always feel like I bring my supervisor into stuff. I guess
You and your supervisor must have a very good relationship.
We talk, yeah.
Good.
It's I guess technically both the supervisors because there's 2. pretty
Okay.
much. But I guess one's older. He's I think like 50 or something like that, or just turned, or is I don't know, whatever. And the other one's like in his 30s.
Okay.
So it's like there's different views just due to age range.
Mhm.
And because I mean how what the older one grew up and stuff like that. 'Cause apparently we were talking about he made a mention of like something like the peanut gallery. And
Yep.
So the younger one was like, hey, that's like a racist slang now, or that has racial tensions to it and should not be used anymore. At least that's what's being said about it.
Yep, I know that one.
And so for him, he's like, well, I mean, I've just always said that, like, there's nothing racial tied to it for me or whatever kind of thing. And so it was just that started this whole conversation about, well, the younger guy was saying, obviously things are changing within, I guess the culture or whatever,
Right.
with slang and just like certain like, what was it, hand gestures or whatever, having different meanings.
You mean
now.
the okay hand
the
symbol?
okay, so yeah, that one flipped him off too. He's like, what? But
It's an interesting phrasing of words. Flipped him off too.
yeah, oops. Perfect for hand gestures. They get that at work every once in a while too, so it's an entertaining time.
Why do you flip them off? Anyways, go
I
on.
don't. I'm a good, like, innocent little boy.
Mhm.
But so it's like the older one is just like, he's like, why do I have to like keep changing all these things that we've done or I've done for so long? Like, do you expect me to just like change and whatnot? And then the other one's like, well, he's like, I think you should educate yourself so you don't get yourself in, like, I guess in one way is like get yourself in trouble by making or doing something that could offend someone, whatever and whatnot. But it's like, for me at first, I was more so on the side of it's just like, okay, like the okay sign, like how did that become a white power symbol thing and all this other stuff? So it's like, okay, now that's been brought to attention. It's like, do I never make that sign again? And I guess educate myself in what's being taught by people today. And I don't know. I was just figuring out, I guess, what do you do? I mean, I can see how it would be a good thing to change and, like, I guess, yeah, educate yourself to what people are making things now. But at the same time, it's like, why do we have to make this stuff, like, turn it into a racist thing when, I don't know, maybe it never had a racist, like, thing to it in the past? It's like, why are we creating this now to be that?
Like sticking to a schedule, as we just
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah. That's terrifying too. Like, that makes no sense. There's like that. Yeah. Oh,
But anyways-
gosh. I'll let you go on that if you
Yeah.
talk about that.
Okay.
But
So
dang.
okay. So that's the context into what you're talking about. This change of culture. How do we respond to it?
Yeah.
As culture changes with that, and that is I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
But before I get there,
Oh, I like your thoughts.
because I don't want to taint anything, Josh, what are your thoughts?
He's unamused. Go on.
And this is why it takes we're in the half to get 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know where to start.
Pick
Hey,
a spot.
Start from the beginning. That's
So-
usually a good spot to start.
So I'm just gonna go off of something you said.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna take it from there.
Okay, do it.
Send it.
I can't remember. Your supervisor, the older one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Said, "Why do I got to keep changing things that I've always done for so long?" And my dad said something to me once, and I thought it was interesting. And I was just thinking about it.
Okay.
He said, "You choose to be offended."
I think I've heard that phrase before
We've
from
heard it
him.
before. Oh, yeah.
Go on.
And I just thinking about it, it makes sense because and here's why I say it makes sense. The most common picture you've ever seen, and it's always has been a picture, even back from Martin Luther King, is a young white boy and a young black boy hugging. Right?
Yep.
They know nothing. I mean, they can tell that the other one looks different, but they don't associate with anything. They don't see anything. There's no racial slurs. There's nothing racial. There's no friction between that. All they know is, hey, that's my friend. I like playing with him. We chase each other around all the time. We race each other on the handlebars. There's no racial tension. There's no tension of any sort. They're not concerned of where they come from. They're not concerned of what clothes they're wearing. They're not concerned of what kind of money all of this stuff is taught. Okay.
Okay.
And what frustrates me is that as a society, we allow ourselves to mold to the weaker few. But unfortunately, the weaker few tend to have the loudest voices. Okay. And when we change something in society, we're changing it not for the majority's vote, but for the minority vote. And not minority in race. I'm saying minority is the smaller group of people. Their vote counts more than the majority.
I don't know if their vote counts more. They just scream more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease
Yes.
mentality.
Yeah, it just bugs me, especially when they take things out of context of time. When you pull something that was something back in history, you bring it to today, and you're like, "Oh no, this is what it means," and that's not the case. I feel bad for your boss or your supervisor because he has to change his way of life because there are so many weak-minded people today. And when I say weak-minded, I'm saying it to someone who has become so sensitive to everything in life that they're not willing to figure out how to become tougher, you know? And when you see, I don't know, this is kind of not going off topic, but it's going to the side thing. When you have feminist movements that are trying to demasculinize culture. I was just talking about this with my coworker, okay? He goes, I cannot do what my girl does. I said, what do you mean? I could not stay home with my 3 daughters all day. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I would just go insane. I would go insane staying at home day after day after day. He looks at me. She's been a stay-at-home mom for years. Ever since we met, she's been a stay-at-home mom. She brought a daughter into the relationship, and then they had 2.
Okay.
And he was like, I couldn't do it. I told her that. I said, I give you all the props in the world. And I said, you want to know something else too? He goes, what? I said, society won't admit it, but science can back it. Okay. I don't have the data in front of me right now, but women are better with kids than men. And a lot of people would say that would be a sexist comment right there because it's insinuating that they're more fit for the role of staying at home. Women can multitask better than men.
What about Aaronita? Aaron dressing as a woman and identifying as a woman.
Yay.
Does that count?
That's a whole nother episode.
Okay. I just wanted to, that answers a question I was going to have without you having to answer it.
There's not, what I'm finding more of a struggle today than anything is I feel like people are overly sensitive, but then the people who support the overly sensitive are overly hard-headed, protecting the overly sensitive. The overly sensitive people can't sit there and talk about anything without being offended for you coming to talk to them. But at the same time, the people that are protecting them don't help them because they block everyone and everything out to keep them from getting hurt. So we have this culture that is growing up in this society where we are manipulating things from the past, giving them different meanings for the future, but we're also allowing them to think that everything is something harsh, everything is something touchy.
So, trying to think how to say this. A lot of what I'm seeing, and I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with any of that, Mr. Brewer. But a lot of that, you see that especially like in echo chambers, where you're in a group with other people who think exactly like you, get offended by the same things. Now, obviously, you don't watch the Monday episodes because I talked recently about my little experiments I did with wonderfulness of the communal hate. So a couple weeks ago, at the time of this being released, Roundy's, their parent company, whatever the name of their parent company is off the top of my head, whatever. Anyways, they start saying, hey, we're gonna support to do whatever. You have to wear a mask in our store. And you know what? I'll wear a mask if the store mandates it, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I'm going out my way to go to stores that don't mandate it, but another conversation for another time. So I just went in there and I wrote, thank you. I'll take my business elsewhere. That's it. And this was part of an experiment. And I knew intentionally what I was doing because I knew I was stepping on a landmine, essentially.
So you sent Roundy's a message saying...
I just responded to their Twitter message.
Oh,
publicly.
Okay. Oh.
And I knew I was stepping on a landmine. And here's why I was stepping on. Did you listen to the Monday episode,
No,
Aaron? Okay,
no.
So then I want you both to guess. You hear about Twitter, right? You know about Twitter at least, what it is.
Yes.
What percentage of Americans actually have a Twitter account?
Actually have one?
I have 2 numbers in my head.
Yeah.
The first number is what I think it is, but the other number is I think what actually use it.
Okay.
66% of Americans have a Twitter account, but only 23% actually are on it.
Okay. Aaron?
Dang, that's pretty good.
They just right into the head.
I'll do 70-30.
70-30.
You both are so far off.
Really?
7%.
Actually use their Twitter
No,
account?
even have accounts
7% of
Really?
of Americans.
So those are the squeaky wheels. Got it.
Well, here's the next part of this.
Mhm.
Of those 7%, right? You jump that up to 100%, right?
Yeah.
Over 70% of those are left or far left, self-identifying politically.
That explains a lot.
Okay,
Wait, how much of that? I'm sorry.
about 70% or so.
Of the 7%.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of this 7%, what percentage of those people, so out of 100%, okay?
Yeah.
Make more than the average American.
Of that 70, how many make more than the average
So,
American?
Of the 7%,
Yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, of the 7%.
so think of
Yeah.
it as 100% again
Yeah.
of that wheel, from
How
1
many
to
make
100.
More
Wow.
than the average American.
Yeah,
Make more than the average American. What does the average American make? What is it, 35 or 45?
something like that. Yeah, 35 to 45, let's say.
How many make more?
Yeah,
7%. We're going with sevens. Might as well keep it going.
17.
70.
Oh, I should have said that. Okay.
70%
of that 7.
of that 7% make more than the average American. If you break that up even further, 43% make over 75,000 a year.
All right, hang on. Let's do this math. Quick.
Wow.
All right, so we're going off of.
So
voice crack.
you have the very elite of the elite being the squeaky wheels that are yelling and screaming that we need to change things. Now, obviously, you have the people on the news as well. So, we're not discounting those people. But you have rich people, essentially, leading the charge, saying, we need to do blah. We need to change blah. We need to la la. Now, these same people were the ones that responded to me on my little Twitter post saying, I'm just going to take my business elsewhere.
Yeah, I know this is bad.
Yes, it is bad. In fact, it is very bad.
Somehow we get demonetized.
Oh, no. I got threatened. I had hate mail. I had hate messages. I had people going, we're going to expose you, contact your work to let you know how big of a threat you are to yourself and to others, because I said I was taking business elsewhere. I didn't say anything about masks being ineffective, being masks, blah, 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 anything. Nothing about masks. Just thank you. I'll take my business elsewhere. And you have just vitriol hate coming from that side of the people doing that. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Now here's where it gets more fun. So I got all this hate, right? So here was my Schadenfreude moment of this. I tagged all the most vitriol, horrible comments. I tagged all those people in one comment, and they started attacking each other, thinking each other was a conservative amongst them.
What?
It was great. I
Wait,
just tagged them all in a post. I was like, thanks for the information for a podcast. Tagged them all, and they started just attacking each other. And I just sat back and said nothing and did nothing. And it was great.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I took this all a step further then. I changed my Twitter handle.
To the okay sign?
No,
Oh,
I changed it to average half Mex, average half Mexican.
yeah.
Every one of them either deleted their except for one person, either deleted their comment or privated their account after that.
Wow.
We got some sad people, man.
What? Oh.
Because all of a sudden I was a minority
Yeah.
and they can't speak bad about me. It was just this moment of just like, I tried some experiments and it
just showed you.
yeah. But also, I want to tell you, this is also how squeaky wheel, because, you always hear on the news about people talking about, on Twitter, so-and-so did this, or Twitter said, it hits the news channels, right? What percentage of the user base of Twitter generates 80% of the tweets?
What would generates 80%?
What percentage of the Twitter population generates 80% of the tweets?
2%. Just say 70. We're already going at 7.
I'll say the opposite. 75.
10%.
Freak, you were closer.
10% of Twitter's population generates 80% of the tweets. So all these tweets where you're seeing like, whatever the topic is, as you're saying, like the OK symbol is racist or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's generated by 10% of the population.
So these people on Twitter are practically master manipulators when it comes to social media.
Essentially, yeah. They're the
That's-
elite of the elite, and they're typically rich. And they're the ones saying, we need to do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do
You
that.
know-
They're the ones kind of changing culture. Now, and you know where I said like 7% of Americans have a Twitter account? What percentage of Americans have a Facebook account?
I'm going to assume 70. I'm just going 70.
Johnson?
I'll do 45.
41.
Hmm.
41%. There's a larger conversion rate of people going to Facebook over Twitter. And you see some of this on Facebook still, but at the same time, you don't see as much of it, at least from my experience.
Can we just put some numbers into perspective from your Twitter thing?
Yeah.
All right. So we have 7% of the population roughly is on Twitter, right?
Of the United States population.
The United States population, that's 22.9. 22.9 million people have a Twitter account. Okay.
Right.
Now, what was the next number?
41%. Or which number are you talking about?
Of Twitter. So it's 7%. So what percentage in the 7%? Was it 70? It was the next one? And then 43?
Oh, yeah. So 70% make above the average income.
So that leaves us to 16 million of the 20, I'm gonna round up, 23 million
Mhm.
make over 45.
Yep.
Let's just say 35 to be on the safe side. Okay. Then,
So if you don't break it down further to like the 75%, because it's 70% makes above the 45, right? And if you break that down, it's like the whatever.
so going back to the 22,
Yeah,
we're going to do 43 of that.
right.
So you're telling me we got 11 million people on Twitter?
Making 75K or more, pushing for these things to push and change society.
Now, I'm not going to say this. I'm not
I'm not going to say this, but I'm going to say it.
I'm going to say this. Yes, thank you. Somebody made a very valid point. I was at work and somebody said something and it got me thinking, which got me thinking to this. I'll explain this in a second. So he sat there and he's like, "Oh, looks like they're running around in, FedEx uniforms now." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" One of the judges that was dealing with the Epstein case.
It's the Epstein's. Is it the girlfriend? No. But anyways, go on. Yeah.
Ex-wife.
Whatever it is.
Anyways, there was a judge dealing with something around Jeffrey Epstein. A guy who was, I don't know if he died, but it was an attempted homicide, at the very least, by somebody in a FedEx uniform.
No. It wasn't attempted homicide. It was a homicide.
It was a homicide. I was saying attempted at the very least because I wasn't for sure.
So here,
Yeah, I didn't know if he
okay.
died.
So here's what happened. Guy in FedEx uniform went up to the judge's house. Judge wasn't there, but her son and her husband were. Her son was killed. Her husband was shot. The guy was killed later. Found apparent suicide.
Yeah, that's like half the people that have a lot of information about who's telling them to do it always end up with an attempted
Yeah,
suicide.
I don't. But I don't care about the Epstein thing in this regard. That has nothing to do with this.
No, I'm just gonna say it's interesting to see that as much as the rich are for the people, they seem to have a lot of baggage of nastiness coming from behind them too.
Yeah, the Epstein thing though, it involves a lot of political connections, and that I
Which explains why no
Yeah.
politician has pushed for the not removing, the ending of sex slaves. Pretty much what Epstein was doing.
yeah, I know, but I think everyone's pretty much said no to what he was doing because a lot of them were underage. But that's not
That's-
what we're talking about right now. Regardless,
It's still happening, though.
I know it's still happening, but that's not the topic.
Elmo?
Yes, Elmo.
Okay. Is it Alamo? Or Almo or Elmo?
Enough. Let's move on. ELMO.
Ah, Elmo. You
Elmo.
gonna speak?
Okay, back to topic. I'm going to start introducing Elmo here. That's another topic for another time, Josh. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Because that requires a lot more time than
Yes.
this. But yes, so there are a lot of people on Twitter trying to push the narrative of how society should go. I agree. So Johnson, What do you? What should be our response to all this? How do we handle this? How do we say
You're an
lovingly,
idiot.
lovingly enough is enough? Stop. Or is there a way to lovingly put it that way?
Tough love.
That's a fair. That's an honest answer.
What's the tough love? Break it down in 20 words or less. Go.
What? Gosh.
Lock and load. Hunger
Not
Games.
lock and load.
Hunger Games.
Did you say a lock? Did you say lock and load?
Lock and load. Hunger
Okay,
Games. I
yeah,
don't know.
okay, no.
Okay.
Purge.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet, or a purge hasn't happened.
Yeah.
No.
It'll happen when Biden gets wins. But anyways, go on.
Right. Gosh, honestly, I don't know. I mean, you can try and be nice to them about it and be like, well, gosh, I don't know. Because no matter what you say, they're going to fight you back on something.
Yes.
Like there is no winning.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you could try, so you could try and cancel them. That's just going to fuel their fire.
But should we cancel people? I
no,
hate cancel culture.
Oh yeah. it's
Why would we
awful.
use that tactic against other people?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it.
Life lessons learned the hard way. I guess because I don't know. This is me making assumptions, but like for as far as the cancel culture stuff goes, like would they be ones that are part of the cancel culture kind of stuff?
Probably.
And technically, you can cancel anyone because you can cancel their job. You can cancel
Yeah.
their.
But I'm saying
Whatever.
like, would they be people that are like?
Oh, I'm sure they're all for it. Yeah. So I had. So
Until it happens to them.
Well, I was gonna say that's get a taste of their own medicine, but that's
yeah. So
also-
back to my little Twitter experiment.
yeah.
I engaged with one person, and he was kind of civil, but apparently I missed the sarcasm in there, so I was nice back. I was
Okay.
nice, I was like, "Hey, thanks for engaging civilly." Blah blah blah. He's like, "You idiot! You don't understand why people hate you because you are nice to them." I'm like, so when you're saying be nice to them, it's like
There is no
sometimes they are going to find any excuse
to be mean.
To
Or
be
just
mean.
Yeah.
because you have stated an opinion contrary to what they are perceiving things, and they don't care. That instantly makes you evil.
Yeah.
It also makes you evil based on who you are. Notice when my Twitter handle was just the old one, which is PD Armin, and I've reserved that one so no one else can steal it. It was something where I was evil, blah blah blah. I was a threat to myself and others because I was going to take my business elsewhere. Okay, but as soon as I changed it to average half mix, we got to back off.
So sorry. We didn't mean any of that.
Yeah,
We
the one
didn't
guy was
see
like,
that.
"Am I being punked? Is this a joke? What?" I was like, "No, this is me."
Right.
And it all of a sudden, whoop, it just changed back. They weren't taking into account the substance of what I was saying. They were taking into account their assumptions on who I was. And therefore, because of who I was, they assumed what I aligned with. And by
Right.
assuming by what I aligned with, they assumed that they hated me.
I love the abbreviation of assume.
Yeah. Yeah. They should
So
have made
true.
a good one out of them.
So, so how do you engage with a culture that does that?
I don't think you
You can't.
really can.
Not as well.
Well, you can't. You definitely can't do it alone.
So let me ask this. Right now, I can say this now because I'm no longer employed by them. My former job, hospital chain here in Southeast Wisconsin, one of the largest ones, joined up. It's in Illinois as well. So if you know hospital chains at all, you know exactly where I work. And if you're some of my
Well,
former
good.
coworkers, hello coworkers, this is going to make you sad.
Uh-uh.
So again, I don't think I have found hardly anyone that disagrees that what happened to George Floyd was bad and that the cops involved should be brought to justice. There's a few people I found online that are like, "Oh, he deserved it," or "It's a conspiracy," whatever. Those are far and rare and in between, but the majority of Americans, the majority of the world agrees what happened was
awful.
bad. This is one of the few times in history where you had CNN and Fox News, all the anchors come on and say, "What happened today with Floyd was bad." It was
Right.
it was rare to see that, right? But as a part of this, do we then, to quote unquote show solidarity, do we just kneel to everyone that has a little more melanin in our skin, I guess you could say?
Right.
Because
Well-
you saw that after the George Floyd thing,
Okay.
right?
So
But so my former job, I don't know if you saw the news, there was a video where like during COVID, all the doctors and nurses went outside to kneel because they
Mhm.
had to repent for their whiteness.
did not see that.
Yeah.
I did. I thought you sent it, but it was like the video of this a black man making this woman kneel before him or something like that and apologize to him, like specifically, like
Yeah.
person on person for her white privilege kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I had brought that up at work, and one of the workers just kind of, he was going off about it. He's like, that's not real. Like, that's not going to be a thing. I was like, well, if one person's going to do it, more are bound to follow. Like,
And did you show them the mantra chanting afterwards?
no, I did not. No, I don't even think I showed him the video. I just mentioned that it happened in the video, and he's like, now you're gonna go out in public and just assume that they're gonna do that to you. I was like, no, I'm not. But if someone were to do that to me, I'm sorry, but I personally, it's like I haven't done anything personally against you, so it's like what do I do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Me getting down and apologizing for nothing is not going to do anything any good, at least as far as I can tell. I don't know.
Except giving somebody a false sense of power.
to a point.
To a point.
I mean, if I look at you and I say, Aaron, you need to kneel and you need to repent for having that beard. It's too long. It's sinful. And you do as I say, I'm gonna feel, all right, I made him do
I can
something.
talk over this guy.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just the basis
Yeah.
of that mentality.
But so
But when we're being, this goes back to a couple weeks ago, you know, that idea that this intersectionalism is a religion type of thing. You know, what happens when society as a whole is telling you, you have to do this. You have to, when the Smithsonian puts out a document saying time is whiteness.
to be on time, at least,
Yeah. To have critical thinking is whiteness.
to be polite,
To want to succeed.
hardworking.
What do you do then? Because that's not a
Dude.
fringe. That's not a fringe institution.
That's the structure of every single piece of society.
Well, something that lasts.
Yeah.
But
That's every country today. That's every business today.
by that document, that's part of your whiteness. That's part of what's causing racism. What do you have when people are told that? I mean, I know you too, okay? So,
Mhm.
but what happens when you have people who are your age, who necessarily maybe aren't as confident in themselves, and they're being told, because you're white, you are racist, and you need to, you know,
Need to.
you need to kneel in front of you need to kneel in front of me because I have a little more melanin in your skin, and apologize for being racist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something, and I hope you can choose to edit this out.
Oh, he will.
And
I'm always scared.
no, I am too. I understand that, you know, we're starting to go into a time where the racism is becoming reversed. They are now being racist to eliminate racism in their minds. They're not racist, but how they're going about the whole process is extremely racist.
Well, that's because, and this happens a lot, people are told if you're a minority, you cannot be racist.
So we bred this idea. And I say bred, I mean, we have through generations, but we have instilled in this idea of that truth.
I wouldn't even say that's a generation. I'm saying that is like recent in the past couple of years. Like, I had not heard that before. Like, before it was, you could be racist, whether you're whatever skin tone. But now I'm hearing, and this is even from corporate training, if you're a minority, you cannot be racist. If you're white, you're racist. You're having over in Seattle where they had racism training, but only for the white people. Only the white people that were part of the Seattle government had to respond and go to that training. We saw where Tim Pool was reporting on where the various federal agencies had training for white people, and how saying you not seeing color or race is racism, or we have made progress since the 60s is racism. What do you do in the face of that?
And,
It's a, to be me looking as a minority to you guys, that's a lose-lose.
and it's almost like now I'm saying now I haven't experienced any of the roughness of the last few months. You know, I've been blessed to not have to deal with anything verbal, digital, or physical, you know, because of me being white. You know, I haven't had to deal with anything. But I will say this.
Yeah, and you live in your nice little suburban home.
Suburban.
I do. I will say this though.
Yeah.
I actually feel like being white. Okay. And I say this in a sense of not me being sensitive. I say this in the context of everything that and how it's being targeted towards white people. It's like they're trying to dehumanize less melanin people.
Oh, yeah. You apparently did not watch the Nick Cannon video, did you?
I haven't seen that either. I've heard snippets of it, but I
It's
have not
almost
watched
like
that.
they're trying to make us more of an object to be manipulated in society, to be tossed around. It's almost like they're trying to put us back into a slave spot.
Gee, it's almost like racism. Yeah. But yeah, so if you haven't yet, and I'll say this, if you have a weak stomach, do not go and watch the video from Nick Cannon. I hope it was pulled from YouTube. But anyways, in there, he does make a comment that the less melanin you have, the more closer to an animal you are.
Yes.
Dang.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. In the past, guess what? It was the inverse of that comment coming from
Oh.
white people. So let's
Oh, yeah.
not
No,
sugarcoat it. It had that sort of comment and sentimentism has come from the past. It has happened before, where white people would say, "The darker the skin, the more animalistic or more savage,
Mhm.
whatever." So I'm not excusing one party to persecute the other.
Mm-mm.
So I would go after that both sides. Either that was Nick Cannon or Aaron Johnson saying anything like that. Or myself, even if I said like, "Oh, look, you have less melanin than me. But
No,
you're
there's
less superior."
Now, I probably know the answer to this, but is the way that this is going about in American society right now, is this happening over in France, in Germany, in England?
So you're seeing Black
Um,
Lives Matter protests overseas as well.
But you're not seeing society start to spin like over here.
No, and
And-
honestly, I have a feeling this continues too much longer, it will actually start to spread out to other countries.
And I hope this is where history is important, because I'm going to say this and I'm going to get
Mm.
questioned, and I don't have the textbook in front of me.
You should have it in your mind.
I have it in my
No,
mind.
you don't. But
I
you
can
don't.
see it.
Anyways,
America was one of the last few countries to have slavery.
okay.
France didn't have slavery at the time that America had slavery, if I remember this correctly.
Okay, go on.
So
no,
go ahead.
no,
look it
I'm
up.
not going to
Oh.
fact check that. I'm going to check something else. But go on.
England, I think, had slaves, but they weren't seen as slaves. They were seen as servants. And they were, I think in England, they were, when you think of slavery and you think of a slave, you think of somebody who was picking cotton out of a cotton field, getting whipped, sleeping on a hay every night, barely getting food, barely has clothes on their backs.
Okay.
That's the nasty life of being a slave in America. Okay.
Okay.
The slave I'm talking about is the slave that has a bed to go to every night. Pretty much a slave is being owned by somebody. That's the
You're right.
basic description definition of a slave, is being owned by another person. You are not your own. You are a subject of someone.
Yes, that would be the definition of slave. Yes.
And I believe in England at the time they had those subjects for the higher noble, but that I don't think, if I'm remembering my history correctly, but I do know that slavery was not as common in Europe at the time that it was massive in America.
Yeah, and we had the cotton fields and all that. Just by the way, I was looking up something real quick. France abolished slavery in 1848. We abolished slavery in 1845. So a couple years later. Now, they passed the law before us, but they didn't put it into effect until after us. So that's the minor little hitch. That might
Dang.
be kind of what you're remembering there.
then my history has been a little skewed. So you can go ahead and take that
Gotta go
part
back
out.
to school.
Josh
Um,
goes back to school.
Um,
But no, so over in England and that they have this concept of indentured servitude and butlers and all that,
Yeah.
and we have that in America too, indentured servitude. Now, indentured servitude is different than slaves, and then the fact that once you paid that debt, whatever it was, it was probably monetary, you were free. Slavery, as Josh pointed out, you were property. You were
Mhm.
blah blah blah. I'm not exactly sure how Josh was going to fit that in with the topic.
I was gonna, if it was true, apparently my brain just remembers false. I was gonna connect it to the fact that the American mindset is skewed from the reality of the world in a sense that I was gonna try to point it to the fact that people who support this idea here are wrong for supporting it because that's not how it is in the rest of the world.
I-
But at this point, it doesn't make any sense because the American society is the few and the rich of society have got the ball rolling already.
Well, here's the thing. Doesn't matter if we were the last or the first to abolish slavery. Slavery, owning of another human, is wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there still modern slave trade and that happening especially over in Africa and that between the tribes? Yes, unfortunately, but it's still happening around the world. There's sex slaves. There's all that sort of stuff. So just because we stopped selling people in the open market, the open market does not mean slavery has ended in the world.
And that's the other thing I would like to understand. And I feel like if anything, I should weaponize myself with information regarding human trafficking. And when I say weaponize, just give myself information that if I ever get confronted, I could go, so what are you doing about human trafficking?
There's a lot of traffic out there.
There is. And what was it? I think America has the highest upload and download of child porn.
I would imagine. I believe it.
That's insane. Like, what was it?
We probably also lead the world in creation of it too. Congratulations, USA. You're number one again in something we don't want to be number one in.
At least
Number one in
the
COVID,
non-rich.
number one in child porn.
At least the non-rich don't want to be number one.
So,
But anyways, I just weaponized myself with the fact that, they're coming at me for me never doing anything for them. But yet people who have never done anything to anybody are getting abducted and forced. What if they turned that energy and this skewed mindset that they had and focused it towards human trafficking? Think about how well we could damper down human trafficking.
so that's one thing you can do then against as culture changes. Have the facts of whatever you want to have it be. So slavery, talk about the human sex trafficking, and you can talk about the stats of slavery around the world currently beyond just human trafficking, for sex slaves and that. For the OK symbol, you can talk about how it started out as a prank from 4chan. The news then ran with it, thinking it was real. And then because the news said it, actual racists started using it.
Yeah.
You can start with that.
It's a big
4chan, that's that.
It's the messaging board where a lot of cultural pranks start. It's a place where most memes are born.
Oh,
It's a place where
stupid me.
the digital outcasts of the world live.
it's kind of like a forum.
Yeah, it's a forum.
No wonder the
4chan.
memes are a form of news now because of news people
So,
take stuff from it.
Okay, you want to know this one?
No, but yes.
In people in your age range, 20 to 30,
Yeah,
what percentage of them say they get their news solely
a lot.
from social media?
a lot.
Take a guess, percentage-wise, 1 to 100.
63%.
I'm just gonna go be outrageous and imagine 92.
68.
Thank you. I'm glad you're right.
If you were right, I probably would have just finished it off.
But here's the thing, that's trending upward.
Of course it is, because memes are all the rage.
Exactly. They would rather get their news from a meme or a short 2-sentence blurb than actually read and investigate for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what, I understand how somebody can easily want to move away from media, news and stuff, because they got a funny way of just trying to draw you in to give you the truth of all of like 15 seconds. And then they sit there and draw you in even more on stuff that they don't actually have all the facts on.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing that I find about the news is they have like 2 minutes of talking and the truth only lasts 20 seconds, but they fill it in with nonsense. So I can understand why our generation can just be like, you know what, we're done. We're done with it.
Yeah.
But do they not realize how even more easily they can be manipulated in the private sector?
Manipulated? What's
Manipulated.
But yeah, so what I'm getting at here though is don't get your news from a meme, first off.
No.
And before you believe something like the OK symbol is racist, investigate it. Investigate where it came from.
Well-
Investigate the history of it.
I'm sorry, Paul, but we're seriously screwed because if looking up where did the OK symbol come from and they only rely on things the length of a meme, we're never going to get anywhere.
I know, but here's the thing. If us individually are informed, you can counter that. And be prepared like I was to step in a landmine once in a while and know what's going to happen.
Right.
Know that, as much as they want, they're going to happen. And here's the thing. And I'll repeat this from here to whenever. Whenever the crowd says move, say no, you move. When they say kneel, say no, go away. When they say you must do this, otherwise you're racist, say screw you. No, you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to pull out your gun. You don't have to punch them. You just say no.
Yeah.
And when they try to scream you down, just look at them in the face and go, no. It's a simple 2-word answer.
And that's
Or 2-letter answer.
Yes, 2-letter answer.
When they say 2 words, I only heard you say no.
well, he said no twice.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's also where the problem can go south because people don't tend to control themselves that well.
No,
And just saying no, they'll
Yeah.
fight back, and then it causes a scene.
escalates.
and
it
makes both sides look stupid, or
Yeah.
one side can look worse than the other.
yeah, and you don't always, and if whatever you do, don't try to escalate it.
No, yeah.
If you're being attacked by a bunch of Karens in a store, or you're in a store that doesn't require a mask, and they're yelling, "You don't have a mask on!" and they start yelling at you, don't turn around and fight them and yell at them. Just walk away.
Just go about your business.
By the way, that's going to make them the maddest thing in the world. You are ignoring a Karen or a
Ooh.
Ken, because Ken is
Can't forget about him.
yeah, Ken is the male version of Karen.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and I called all those people that responded to me on Twitter Karens and Kens.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in my little
Nice.
experiment and my little commentary on it, look up our episode "Intolerant Karens Are Ruining the Internet," because oh my goodness,
Monday.
Karen, you're destroying us.
Yeah. Oh, for real.
But when they come up and say you must jump, otherwise you're racist, say no. Why should I have to do what you say when it's being founded upon emotion? When Twitter says, oh my goodness, cancel this person, they said a nasty thing. Why? Again, look at it. It's the minority of America that's yelling on Twitter.
That is so crazy. Yeah. Again, as you said earlier, the squeak wheel gets the grease because, man, it's like that's all you hear about.
But the
Is
majority,
that minority part of America.
but the majority of that minority identify as left, far left.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with a diverse opinion.
No.
You're
it's
dealing with a
one-sided.
very narrow echo chamber. Because what
Right.
happens, like, and you've seen this before, even between the three of us. Someone has an opinion. Aaron thinks it's great. He repeats it. Josh says it to Josh, thinks it's great, says it to me, and it just repeats amongst itself, right? There's never another party that introduces, maybe that's stupid. Let's think back to the day of your motorcycle accident.
What?
What were you
What?
guys on the way to do that you thought was awesome?
It did nothing.
That actually has nothing to do with the motorcycle.
I know,
accident.
I know it has nothing to do, but what
No,
were you guys
but-
on your way
So
to do?
what we were gonna do
It was something really stupid.
it was
Uh-huh.
freaking great. No,
Was it before? See, here's the thing: would it have been before or after you had broken your bones?
Huh?
You said it would have been a really great idea, and I said, you see that before or after you broken your bones? And I'm saying that
Both.
if you didn't get into a motorcycle accident, you probably would have broken something with.
No,
what
because
you
I would have
worked
been driving.
on. Oh, yeah, right.
Anyways,
okay.
what were you going to go
So,
do?
we
Now,
had-
obviously, the motorcycle accident derailed this idea, thankfully,
Yeah, actually, thankfully.
Yeah.
because
And-
more people than you probably would have been injured.
probably could have gotten hurt, and then it would have been on church property, and that could have brought in other issues potentially. Hopefully not. Anywho, we found a big giant, not giant, just a big board of wood. And it was
Uh-huh.
also it was like warped a little bit, so it was curved.
Okay.
And I was gonna go home to grab a chair to kind of like fasten to that wooden board.
Uh-huh.
And we had a rope that we were going to tie it to the back of my truck's trailer hitch, and then have someone sit in the chair, hold on to the rope, and swing them around while someone drove the truck. And I mean, it'd been fun. Similar stuff has been done before.
And all
but
of you in that group that was going to do that were like going once each other, like, this is going to be so great.
This is going to be so much fun.
This is going to be so great. So you were a mini echo chamber at that point. You all were of the same opinion, reverberating the
Right.
idea of how much fun it was going to be. And
Oh,
the-
we figured someone could probably easily.
I know,
get
but
hurt,
you, but
no, yeah,
you were all
still.
like, it's going to be so much fun. We don't
It's
care
gonna
if
be
someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah,
You know, so
it's going to be far outweigh.
and there
the-
wasn't anyone to kind of be there and go, stop.
Maybe this is kind of stupid.
So
Yeah, so the car was the voice talking against me in that
Yeah.
moment.
I think that was God intervening.
saying
Stop.
that's stupid. Don't do it.
So, but anyways, so you have that, right? And what I'm seeing with Twitter is it's that echo chamber. It's everyone of one political leaning who has these ideas and agrees with the craziness of the ideas that the OK symbol is racist. Back and forth, back and forth. Now, here's the thing. It's going to get worse because conservatives are leaving Twitter.
Oh, really? Well, not surprising.
They're
I
going
guess.
to a different platform,
What?
Parlor.
I haven't even heard of that.
I know it's a recently brand new app. I'm actually on it.
What's it called?
Parlor, where you parlay with others.
Uh-huh.
So instead of a tweet, it's a parlay.
Wow.
But it's the same thing. Same
It's
concept?
essentially the same concept. It looks exactly the same.
That's funny.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Can I quick interject something here?
No.
It's regarding this topic, I swear.
Okay.
All right. So a professor, a former college professor of political science and political philosophy, posted. He put a thing on Forbes, and the title is "After All, Didn't America Invent Slavery?" And I saw the title, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And I start reading it, and it opens my eyes up to something that brings me back to history class. Okay, when we talk about American history. Okay?
Uh-huh.
We do a good amount of talking about slavery in America, but we don't do a lot of talking about slavery in the world.
Okay.
So, what was it? A professor published, a different professor published results of 11 years of his quizzing his students at the start of the year on what they knew about American history and Western civilization. By far, the most shocking result to emerge from his years of polling. Students overwhelmingly believe that slavery was an American problem.
Yeah, I know.
So I know you know, but some people may not. And it just kind of turned a little switch in my head, thinking to myself, okay, so we can be mad at Aaron and I's generation, right? But at the same time, we can't be quite mad because, like I've said before, we're educated to believe what we've been taught and not question what we've been taught. We really need to be questioning what we're taught because we're not taught the whole picture. And in society and schooling and stuff, we don't allow time nor patience to be taught everything we need to taught.
Yeah, but people don't pay attention to school. They pay attention to the memes.
Yeah, well, now
True.
they do. There weren't memes
Eh,
back when Aaron
now-
and I were in.
Not memes like there is today. But I mean,
There's
even
a
when we were-
precursor to memes.
yeah, and even while we were in school, I mean, nobody paid attention besides the kids that were
So you
the
have-
academic.
But you have students going to college now, right? That grew up, in high school with memes. Because don't forget, you guys are what? You're 25, 24. Okay. Average age of going into college is what, 18? You're talking
Yeah.
about kids that graduated 2 years after you guys did. So memes were kind of already in vogue. They've been educated by memes. If he's been doing this study for 5 years,
Right.
that's longer than both of you have been out of high school.
yeah.
See, here's the thing. You guys are starting to hit old.
Yeah,
The youngins are educated completely different than you guys are.
that is
It's
true.
Terrifying.
And,
And now with
and here's the thing.
Uh.
I can bet $1,000. Neither of you keep up on how the education has changed and how the internet culture has changed over the years.
internet culture, no.
Yes.
So I do hear about well, I hear a little bit about some school stuff for I guess high school. I guess it's just more so on how they can either one discipline kids or how they can't
right.
discipline kids due to either abuse or just yeah,
See,
more around those lines. But,
what you got to remember, right? You guys are 24, 25.
mhm.
We're talking about teachers that was started at 22, 2 to 3 years ago, that would have graduated with you guys, teaching high school students their ideas. And if they were already kind of indoctrinated one way, those high school students are now going into college.
Mhm.
Think about when you were in high school.
It's so crazy.
How many people were kind of on that, we need communism, we need that. At least even when I went to high school, there was
Yeah.
all that.
Wow.
And now some of those are teachers teaching their students.
Yeah, it's gonna
And that cycle will continue over and over and over again. So even if you don't have the memes, like Josh was kind of getting to, you're going to have some of those teachers indoctrinating some of that stuff in there. Because when you have a teacher, you don't just, I wish they would, but they don't just teach the curriculum. They teach the curriculum, and especially if they're a history teacher, they're going to filter it through their worldview, through their lens of how they see things. They're going to filter and say, this is why capitalism is bad. Look at what destruction it brought.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
we have these youngsters coming through and saying, we need to change everything. And now we have people going, we need to defund the police. And depending on who you listen to, it's either defund and reform, as in like police just do one part and we treat these others, or abolish or completely incinerate the police.
mhm.
And what do you do when you have these crowds just sitting there going, we need to do this? It's not safe for you to go into a crowd and go, no, because you're going to be beaten up and destroyed.
yeah.
Literally.
Literally, yes. So what do? You let them throw their temper tantrum,
Yeah.
and you engage in local politics and make sure that your local politician, down from your city council level to your governor to your mayor to everything, knows where you stand on this. Because here's the thing. Politicians care about one thing and one thing only: getting elected. And if they all of a sudden see all of their constituents saying, we want this, not this, they get scared.
Oh, for sure.
So be informed. Say, no, you move, not me. But take care of yourself. Don't obviously go into a crowd. I would also add this: don't go in and looking to start a commotion.
Mm-mm.
If you see a group of angry people and they're chanting about something, don't go in looking to like start a fight or something, because that's not going to help anyone's cause. It's only going to cause issues. It's only going to make everyone involved look bad. And it's also just going
Mhm.
to cause headaches for law enforcement.
Right.
And then getting involved with politics, especially on the larger macro scale thing, like defund the police and that. Obviously, you're not going to get involved in politics for the OK symbol.
I'd hope not.
If that becomes, I would love it. I would love it to see the Racine mayor go, we are going to ban the OK symbol
Good luck.
because it is racist. Well,
Yeah.
then we don't have any divers around here normally, but if anyone dives, guess what they use all the time?
Oh.
They use the OK symbol when
symbol.
scuba diving.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
So you have all that. It's like, Oh wait, I can't do that. That's racist. You have that electrician that was out in California that got fired from the job because they had an OK symbol outside their vehicle while they were driving.
Huh.
There was a Mexican guy. He was driving to his job. He was at a stoplight, had the OK symbol outside. When you're just driving and you have your hand outside the
Wait.
car and you just kind of relax your hand sometimes and you do stuff. And he made the OK symbol. Someone called into his job and got him fired because he was making a racist OK symbol.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody, I don't remember where I was.
Again, the Karens have way too much time on their hand.
Yeah. So do you not have anything better to do?
No, they don't.
But yeah, I was outside and someone drove by. And this was he did that whole thing. What was that stupid game? Where it's like pretty much you made the OK symbol, but the goal is to make you look at it and
Yeah.
for whatever stupid reason. And then that's how they got you or whatever in this game. But yeah. So it's like so he was
Yeah, because they put it down low and get you to look at it and then they'd
Yeah.
like punch you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know someone who would play that all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that would get you in trouble now, potentially.
Yes, because it
Big
is
trouble.
a racist hate symbol.
Yeah.
And it all started as a joke, started by 4chan.
Man, those pranksters are really ruining it for everyone, aren't they?
Well, you know what? I'm going to write into them, tell them, make macaroni and cheese racist, please.
Bruh, why would you do that?
Because it's whiteness,
But I use yellow cheese. Also,
So
okay,
but with white
This is-
noodles.
the pasta, whatever. I did also once use chocolate milk or the milk in macaroni and cheese.
That's
once.
disgusting. I'm going to cut that
So-
out because that's going to make people throw up. Anyways.
I was
Any,
just trying to mix it up,
yeah. Any last comments, Mr. Johnson, about,
Well, shoot.
because there's a lot that was covered here.
Yeah, there really was. And I feel like there could also hopefully this much could be covered maybe in another time for the more Christian
Yeah,
side of
we
things.
didn't even, we
'Cause
didn't even get to that.
stuff yet. So maybe we'll have to try and get to that another time. Which I'm for.
Okay.
Um
Yeah, we'll get to that another time then. Next month.
next month. Hey, yeah. Second part 2.
Yep.
So okay, so if you want to hear that part, tune into that next month, hopefully. But I mean, yeah, it's granted, I mean, all of us generally have a very relatively same mindset on a bunch of stuff. The thing is, depending on the issue, because I mean there are issues that are a lot more touchy, a lot more personal, especially with the whole abolish police stuff. Because obviously there's the people that are super for it, and obviously there's the people that aren't for it. It's like you can't have a conversation with those people, really. I mean, you can
Right.
try to, but I guess this is me assuming, and we all know what that means. But like generally, I feel like it would start something nasty, like some kind of stupid fight. But it's like, as you said, say no to certain things, especially if they're like coming at you to do something. But it's like, instead of fighting and trying to like force each other's opinion on one another, is trying to have a discussion, one, but then back it up with knowledge that you have on it. and
Right.
See,
And that's a challenge like I was getting to. You
Yeah.
know, I may be, well, any of us three here might be willing to have that discussion,
yeah,
but they may not. They
Right.
will instead just try to shout you down.
yeah. And at that point, it's just
At that,
back off.
at that
and
point, you just say
let it
no
go.
and walk away.
Yeah, don't push it any farther.
And to be honest, walking away is going to infuriate them more than anything else you could ever do.
oh yeah, maybe I'd say hopefully maybe teach them something, but maybe
No,
not. Who
it
knows?
won't.
Yeah,
It'll just, what they'll do is they'll record you and say, look at this racist walking away from me.
yeah,
That's what they'll do.
which is a shame. So
And
it's a lose lose.
Yeah, it's sad that it's come to that. It's sad that it's come to that. That's why I said I knew what I was getting into. I knew I was stepping on landmine.
Yeah.
And this was a virtual landmine.
By the way, Landmine is a great song by Polaris.
Good to know.
Yeah, I'll have to show you two later. That's as soon as you said Landmine, that song came into my head. I was just like, yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, really, like, yeah. That's about it. I mean, yeah. If if you can have a conversation, have it, and
Mhm.
hopefully you're, learnt up on knowledge with about whatever it is that you're talking about. But yeah, just have a discussion. Don't try and force yourself amongst one another, because I mean, that's just going to cause a fight once you try and force yourself.
Yeah, and I would say if you're
But-
going to have that conversation, go into it with the assumption that the other person has good intentions about why they
Right.
have the opinion that they do, and don't go into it hostile with "I am here to convert you."
Yeah,
Go into it
I'm
with
trying to help you. You're an idiot.
go into it with the intention of I want to learn your position more, because by getting them and getting yourself to explain your position more, that opens up the possibility of questions.
Right.
And I've seen that even with you, Mr. Johnson. Like when we have
Yeah.
some conversations, I'll say stuff and then you'll like, but what about blah? And you'll have
Oh.
a question about it.
hmm
And it's not just a one-way dialogue. It's a question, question, question,
Right.
question. And through that, maybe we'll learn something.
Hopefully, I'd certainly hope so.
Brewer, do you have any last words to say?
I legit thought he was about to hit the down, down, down. He was like, he was like,
to know.
like, maybe.
Oh, he's
No, I
going
got
into that.
nothing else.
Man,
nothing
yeah.
else.
You got nothing?
All
else?
I know is I'm less of a human because I'm white. That's all I know.
Like I said, if
That's
you
what we've
haven't
learned.
yet, go watch that Nick Cannon thing just to kind of see what mainstream culture and media has said is acceptable
Yeah.
as racist speech. And then honestly, if I try to repeat anything he said verbatim, I would be immediately banned in all the media spaces. But because he's a celebrity, he is allowed
He's got extra rights.
to get away with it.
Yeah.
Price of being a celebrity, I guess.
Right. The benefit.
Yeah. So
Although, as soon as a celebrity becomes a public enemy, it's the last person I want to be.
well, you know how you become a public enemy as a celebrity?
How?
You support Trump in 2020.
Not wrong.
No,
Not
Johnson, look
wrong.
at the dancing lights.